January might feel like the coldest, quietest part of winter, but for savvy gardeners, it's actually the starting line for the entire growing season. While most people are patiently waiting for spring, the foundation for the best harvest is already being laid, indoors, under grow lights, or sunny windows. Here's the reality. If you wait until spring to start seeds, you're already behind. Some vegetables require a long head start. Miss that window, and you risk weak plants, poor yields, or even no harvest at all. These 6 vegetables don't forgive procrastination. They demand time, patience, and careful early attention. January is the month to get them going if you want strong plants, early harvests, and a garden that truly delivers. 1. Leeks are the refined, slow-growing cousins of onions, and they require even more patience. Unlike onions, leeks aren't grown for bulbs, but for their long, thick, tender white stalks. Achieving that size takes months, 5 to 6 months or more, which makes a January start ideal. Start too late and your leeks never reach their full potential. Instead of thick, robust stalks, you end up with thin, weak stems, even if you provide perfect care later in the season. When started in January, leeks begin slowly, focusing on building a strong root system before any significant growth above the soil. At first, it may seem like nothing is happening, but beneath the surface, the plant is developing the strength it will need for rapid growth later. This slow start is actually the secret to success. Leeks are extremely cold tolerant once established. Transplants that start early can withstand chilly spring weather far better than later planted seedlings, but only if they're mature enough when moved outside. This is why timing matters so much. Plant leek seeds in trays or pots, slightly deeper than onions, and keep the soil consistently moist with bright, steady light. Leeks don't respond well to stress. Fluctuations in moisture or light can stunt growth permanently. As seedlings grow, upright leaves will develop. By spring, they'll be sturdy enough to transplant into trenches or deep holes, where soil can be gradually mounded around the stems. This blanching process produces the prized, long white stalks. If started properly, leeks reward patience with thick, sweet, mild-flavored stalks that often improve after cold weather. Many varieties can even be harvested through frost and light snow. Leeks started too late rarely reach this stage. January is the dividing line between thin, disappointing stems and beautiful, kitchen-ready harvests. 2. Onions are unforgiving when it comes to impatience. They don't hurry, don't adapt to shortcuts, and demand an early start if you want large, dense, well-formed bulbs. For onions, starting in January isn't just beneficial, it's essential. What makes onions unique is that their bulb development depends primarily on day length rather than temperature. As days lengthen in late spring and early summer, onions receive a signal to stop leaf growth and start forming bulbs. If the plant is still small at this moment, the result is tiny bulbs, no matter how fertile the soil or perfect the watering. A January start gives seedlings extra weeks indoors to develop strong roots and thick, healthy leaves. Every early leaf becomes a ring in the final bulb, so more early growth equals bigger onions later. Growing onions from seed also opens a wide variety of options compared to store-bought sets. You can choose sweet onions, storage onions, red, white, or yellow types, and pick varieties suited for long, short, or intermediate day lengths, depending on your region. All of them benefit from an early start. Sow seeds densely in shallow trays, barely covering them with soil. Onion seeds need consistent moisture and bright light, not depth. Within a week or 2, grass-like seedlings appear. They may look unimpressive, but this stage is critical. Keep seedlings under strong light to prevent them from stretching. Trim tops to 3 to 4 inches tall as they grow. This doesn't harm them. It encourages thicker stems and stronger root development, like a form of weight training for onions. By early spring, you'll have pencil-thick, sturdy transplants ready for outdoor planting. Once in the garden, these onions grow aggressively, already months ahead of any late-start seedlings. Gardeners who skip January often wonder why their onions remain small or fail to bulb properly. The answer is simple. The clock started without them. 3. Peppers thrive on warmth, sunlight, and long summer days, but they absolutely despise being rushed. From seed, peppers are among the slowest vegetables to grow. Germination can take 2 to 3 weeks, or even longer, and once seedlings emerge, early growth is steady but deliberate. That slow pace is exactly why starting them in January is so important. Peppers need time not just to grow leaves, but to develop thick stems, strong branching, and a deep, robust root system capable of supporting heavy fruit later in the season. When planted too late, peppers simply don't have enough time to reach maturity before the season ends, leaving you with small, weak plants and delayed harvests. Starting seeds in January gives peppers a long runway. Instead of scrambling to catch up in spring, they develop gradually indoors, sheltered from cold nights and unpredictable weather. By the time they are transplanted outside, the plants are sturdy, confident, and well prepared, not fragile seedlings at risk of stress. Temperature is critical for germination. Pepper seeds do best between 75 degrees Fahrenheit and 85 degrees Fahrenheit, which often requires a heat mat indoors during winter. Without enough warmth, seeds may rot rather than sprout. Once seedlings emerge, light becomes essential. Peppers need intense, direct light to prevent stretching and weak stems. Strong early light translates into thick, resilient stems later. Early started peppers establish a strong structural framework before flowering begins. Each branch becomes a potential fruit-bearing site. The more branches developed early, the more flowers the plant can produce, and the more peppers it can ultimately support. Late-started peppers often reach flowering while still small and fragile. This results in fewer flowers, fewer fruits, and harvests that may arrive too late to fully ripen before cold weather returns. In cooler climates especially, January is the crucial cutoff. Peppers started early can produce continuously through summer and into fall, while late starters often deliver only a handful of fruit before frost ends the season. Peppers reward patience and preparation. Start them in January, and you're rewarded with heavier yields, thicker walls, richer flavor, and earlier harvests. Delay and no amount of summer heat can make up for lost time. 4. Eggplant. Eggplants follow the same principle as peppers, but they're even less forgiving and demand more time, warmth, and stability. Miss the early start, and they rarely catch up. From seed, eggplants are slow and methodical. Germination can take several weeks, and seedlings initially focus on developing roots rather than visible growth. This early phase is crucial. January-started eggplants build deep, strong roots and thick, sturdy stems long before being transplanted outdoors. That early structure sets the stage for everything that follows. Eggplants produce large, heavy fruits, and without robust stems and a solid root system, plants struggle to support blossoms, suffer poor pollination, and often drop flowers before fruit can set. Late-started eggplants may appear healthy, but they rarely reach their full potential. January-started eggplants enter spring already strong and resilient. Transplanted outdoors, they accelerate rather than stall. Warm soil and rising temperatures stimulate rapid growth, allowing the plant to focus on flowering and fruiting rather than survival. Early growth matters because eggplants require ample time to flower, set fruit, and fully mature. Summer heat often comes suddenly and leaves just as quickly. Late-started plants are still trying to grow when they should already be producing fruit. Strong early development leads to thicker stems, more branching, better airflow, improved pollination, and flowers that remain on the plant instead of dropping. Fruits grow larger, glossier, and more evenly shaped. In contrast, late-started eggplants usually yield a few small fruits before growth stalls as temperatures cool. Plants started in January can continue producing well into late summer and even fall. If you want glossy, firm eggplants with rich color and flavor, not thin, underdeveloped plants with disappointing harvests, January isn't optional. It's the foundation of a successful season. 5. Celery is one of the most underestimated vegetables in home gardens, and also one of the least forgiving. Many gardeners treat it like lettuce or herbs, assuming it will grow quickly once planted. In reality, celery follows a very different rhythm, and if you miss the January planting window, the consequences are almost guaranteed. Celery has a long growing season, often requiring 120 to 150 days from seed to harvest. What makes it tricky is that its initial growth is extremely slow. For the first several weeks, seedlings appear almost dormant above the soil, but that's not failure. Underneath, roots are quietly developing the foundation for a strong, productive plant. Starting celery in January gives you the luxury of time. You're not forcing growth or racing the season. You're letting the plant establish itself gradually and naturally. Celery seeds are tiny, so small they almost look like dust, and they need light to germinate. Burying them too deeply prevents sprouting. Soil should stay consistently moist but never soggy, as even brief drying can halt germination entirely. Temperature is just as critical. Celery sprouts best between 65 degrees Fahrenheit and 75 degrees Fahrenheit, a range easily maintained indoors in January but nearly impossible outdoors in early spring. After germination, patience is key. Above-ground growth is slow and subtle, with thin stems and small leaves creeping upward. Meanwhile, below ground, the plant is expanding an extensive root system, the real determinant of harvest quality months later. Celery thrives in cool, stable conditions, but reacts poorly to stress. Heat, drought, inconsistent watering, or sudden temperature swings can result in bitter, hollow, or stringy stalks. Early indoor starts allow celery to mature well before the summer heat, ensuring crisp, tender, and mild-flavored stalks. Gardeners who delay celery until spring often struggle all season. Plants remain thin, bolt prematurely, or fail to form full stalks. In many cases, the harvest simply isn't worth the effort. By starting celery in January, you give it a head start. Plants enter the garden strong, well-rooted, and ready for steady growth. When summer arrives, they can handle warmer conditions without compromising quality. With celery, timing is everything, and January is the difference between frustration and success. 6. Artichokes. Artichokes are in a class of their own. They're more than vegetables. They're long-term projects requiring foresight, patience, and commitment. But when grown correctly, they reward gardeners with a striking and unique harvest, unlike almost any other homegrown crop. From seed, artichokes take a very long time to reach maturity. Many varieties require 8 to 12 months before producing edible buds. That means timing isn't just important, it's absolutely essential. Starting artichokes in January gives them the extended growth period they need to build size, strength, and energy reserves. Without that early development, plants may produce lush, impressive foliage, but never reach the point where they can flower and form buds. Artichokes also rely on temperature cues for flowering. Most varieties need exposure to cool conditions to trigger bud production, but the plant must already be large and mature enough to respond. Small, underdeveloped plants often ignore these signals entirely. A January start ensures artichokes are well established when spring temperatures fluctuate. That early cold exposure becomes a trigger for bud formation instead of a stressor. As artichokes grow, they transform into dramatic, architectural plants with thick stems and silvery, deeply divided leaves. They dominate space and create a stunning visual impact. But all that growth only occurs if the plant has enough time from the start. Gardeners who plant too late often end up with impressive foliage but no harvest. The plants look beautiful, yet the edible buds never appear. A disappointment almost always traced back to one simple mistake: starting too late. When planted in January, artichokes enter the growing season ahead of schedule. They grow faster, respond correctly to environmental cues, and are far more likely to produce large, tender buds during their first year. Once established, many artichoke plants continue producing for multiple years, making that early investment even more rewarding.